Hello, everyone. Have a very good morning to you all. I hope you all are doing great. So, I'm Mahbub, today's host of Meet the Global Leader. This webinar is all about sharing the professional journey of an individual professional with our audience who are basically university going students, also entrepreneurs who live in Bangladesh. So basically, the objective of this session is to share some insights, some lessons from an expert person, so that they can get an idea about how people have been doing things differently and their lessons all over the world. So today we have invited Miss Hester. She is actually founding and managing partner of Epic Angels. She has an impressive experience in professional and this investment sector. So we are honored to have Ms. Hester with us. So Ms. Hester, welcome to our session.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How was your student life?
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So I'm Dutch, as you can probably hear. I grew up in the Netherlands, where I lived for about 32 years. So I studied in Amsterdam. I had a very hard time choosing what to study. Perhaps that sounds familiar to you, because my question was like, how can I choose what I want to do for the rest of my life? So I chose something that was quite basic, economics, and I thought, okay, I can get away with this. I can have multiple paths that leads from this, and I'm very happy that I did this. Before I started studying, however, I traveled the world. After my school exams, which I was at 18, I finished. I traveled with a group called Up With People, which was quite exciting. There was a group of 150 young people between 18 and 25 who travel the world and stay in host families and do community service work. I love that, and that has shaped me actually to a great extent, where I love working with people from different backgrounds. So in our group, we're 22 different nationalities. So this is where, at the young age of 18, there was no mobile phones at that time yet. So very much on my own in the world with all these people with very different backgrounds. So that has had a great impact on me. And I've lived abroad outside of the Netherlands ever since I was 32. So first to London for 6 years, then went to Germany for 3 years, and now I live in Singapore. And I love the international vibe. It has always been about the people. All the choices I made, I could not have told you 5 years before what it was going to look like. If you would have told me, like, in 5 years you will work at a bank, I would have probably laughed at you. If you said in 5 years you're running an angel network, I would have laughed at you. So my life has been very much going with the flow, based on conversations that I've had with people and making choices that feel good based on gut feel, and planning, I would say, furthest 2 or 3 years ahead, and for the rest, just go with the flow. And given our very fast changing world, that has suited me well, and also has learned me skills that are relevant to stay up to date and to be able to reinvent yourself to stay relevant in this changing world.
Wonderful. So after your graduation, so how did you start your professional career, and what did you learn from that corporate experience?
Right. I started at a startup, actually, which was a group of about 15 people, and we helped large multinational corporates to execute their strategy. So these were corporates. So our clients were corporates who had a global strategy, but then in the execution, they found that execution was done differently in different countries, also very much adapting the execution to the local culture. So, for example, I remember that we did one session with a Chinese division of the company, and there they gave gifts. When it came to New Year's, they gave gifts to their clients. And the CEO of the company that we worked for said, "You can't give gifts, this is bribing." But that way we learned how the execution was done, and also the localization that actually needed to happen to execute a strategy successfully in a truly global organization. So from my very beginning of a career, I was involved with like C-suite level people, which I've always enjoyed because there's interesting decisions being made. And then from there on, I went into corporate life. I can tell a little bit more about that if I just continue talking. It is so from there on, I went to PricewaterhouseCoopers, which I would have.
Oh,
That is one of those things I would have never ever thought I would end up there. To me, PricewaterhouseCoopers people all look the same, all think the same, all do the same, which was very unexciting to me at the time. But there was a friend actually from this first startup who joined there and said, "You should come and join us because we're building up this new team." Within PricewaterhouseCoopers. So I'm like, she said, just have a coffee with the partner. So I had a coffee with the partner. And indeed, that was actually very exciting because within PricewaterhouseCoopers, we were building this entirely new team. So that was, again, quite entrepreneurial. And I thought, okay, this can be interesting because you have the strong brand name behind you and still you have your own little backyard that you can develop and grow. So I was, I think, number 7 in that team, and we built it out to number 32, to a team of 32 when I left 3 years later. And again, the next step was also not planned at all, and I would have laughed at you if you would have told me, like, then you go to a bank. That was even worse. I would never thought I would go to a bank. But again, this was a very exciting project where I was involved as a consultant from PricewaterhouseCoopers with the integration of this bank, which was Deutsche Bank, who acquired parts of one of the largest Dutch banks. So as a consultant, I was involved with the integration of these two companies. And then Deutsche Bank asked if I wanted to come on board. Of course, for them, it was a lot cheaper to have me on the payroll than to pay my hourly fee as a consultant. And for me, it was actually very exciting to be really part of something, have that end responsibility. Because as a consultant, it's often the case, like, okay, you make a report, you do some fact-finding and recommendations, then you give the report and you say, good luck, this is it, and goodbye, which is strange because you never have the end responsibility. So to me, that was very attractive to move to Deutsche Bank, run this same project as I did as a consultant, but then as an employee for Deutsche Bank and being responsible for the end result. And I ended up staying 9 years at Deutsche Bank, moved to London with them and to Frankfurt.
great. You are a founder, investor, advisor, and educator. Like with experience in both blue chip corporates and in the startup industry, and having lived in 4 countries. So basically, which is very interesting, and I'll deep dive into it, is like prior to coming to that entrepreneurship sector, you had like 15 plus year experience in international career with like different corporates. So sometimes people say that if you want to be an entrepreneur and if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to have some experience in corporate sector to know how like business operates and some other things. So as you know, like the 4 factors of production in economics is land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. And in some developing countries, entrepreneurship is very below standard or below priority level.
Yep.
So it is one of the most important factor of production and
Mm.
very major part of economics. So as we working on developing entrepreneurial mindset among
Mm.
university going students, because this is the time when they're student at the university, they decide their career path like corporate or entrepreneurial sector. So can you like we will mostly talk about entrepreneurship now, so can you share your background and experience as an investor?
Yes. And a few things that I would like to say to all the points that you mentioned here, where you're so right that entrepreneurship is super, super important for society, right? So companies under 5 years old are responsible for 80% of the jobs and hiring. That was a stat from the US. This is globally so important that there's always people who start new businesses for the labor market, but also it's the entrepreneurs who pull whole economies out of recession, who come up with smart solutions for problems that are actually there, that large corporates are unable to solve because of their structure and the processes, etc. So entrepreneurship is super, super important, has always been. But it's important that people continue to be entrepreneurial for this reason. Being an entrepreneur, I mean, can be different things, right? So that you can be a tech entrepreneur, which is the startup scene. So you become a startup founder, which has a few elements that is not for everyone. So it has a bit of a romanticized image, I would say. People are like, oh, I'm going to launch a startup, either people who are in corporate life or when you're out of university. But it must be noted that it's not for everyone. It is super, super hard to be a successful startup founder. You literally, no, not literally, but figuratively, but it still hurts, get punched in the face 3 times a week. Because as a startup founder, for example, you hear no more than in any other job. Investors don't want to fund your company. Talent that you would like to join your team say no, or they get paid elsewhere better. Customers say no, and you don't understand why, because you did such a good market research and still they don't want to buy. So what's going on? So you hear no all the time, and that is taxing. That requires a lot of thick skin to be able to continue. So the resilience and grit required to successfully run a startup is quite high and higher than some think. So that is good to know, and especially in this current environment where capital is very, very hard to get. It requires a special kind of entrepreneur to be successful, and that is the entrepreneur who knows how to build sustainable business. So the narrative is a bit different, where the past 13 years, when capital was free-flowing and cheap, the narrative was, for startups, we're going to grow exponentially, was all the hockey stick graphs, valuations were blown up, it was all a bit like this. But now that doesn't work anymore, because you don't get the capital, so you need to build sustainably, very strong economics, slower growth, that means as well. But that means you don't need as much external capital from investors as before, which is good, right? So the path to profitability is very important, and even more important than it used to be in the past 13 years. So yeah, as an investor, those are the things that we are looking for as well. We look in founders for this grit and this resilience. However, important that you know when to stop, so that you do not impact your own health, mental health or physical health. 72% of the startup founders have self-declared mental health problems. 72%, that is a lot. So that also is, part of them were born with it. So they know they have, let's say, ADHD, autism, dyslexia, you name it. And the entrepreneurial path is almost the only path that they can take, because in corporate life, it will be hard to function. But there's also parts in that 72% who actually is not born with neurodiversities and actually has a hard time being an entrepreneur, because it is harder than they actually thought. Yet difficult to give up, because it's part of your identity, right? If you think it's cool, like, oh, I'm a startup founder. It's
It's
part of your
very
identity.
common.
And then
It's
to
very
say,
common.
I
Yeah.
stop, and then everybody will say, I told you so. It was not a good idea. Nobody wants to hear that. So you go on and on and on and on until, in many cases, it's too late and burnout is real, or health issues, lack of sleep, just unhealthy because of lack of exercise, etc. So those are things. That's the flip coin of resilience and grit. Yes, you absolutely need it, but also you need to know when to stop. And that's hard. That's a very fine line. And first-time founders typically have difficulties finding that line. And that is where support system helps, right? Fellow founders, people in your proximity, family and friends, although they will not understand 100% what you are doing. That's where founders really can help each other. But investors will know. Investors know this. And investors should take care of their portfolio companies, that they live a healthy life. also for their own sake, because it is startup and founder are intertwined at early stage, right, before Series A. So that is what we look for in a founder. Ability to learn, super important. You can sit in your ivory tower, come up with an amazing app, and nobody will tell you it's not amazing, but it's only amazing if the market thinks it's amazing. Right? So you need to go out, get out of the building, talk to your customers, talk to your market, and learn, because you will learn insights that you never ever thought would exist. So those are the key insights where you can build and find the product market fit. Execution excellence, again, very unsexy. It is not cool, but you need to answer every email. You need to follow up with every little thing. You need to keep going, sweat the small stuff to be successful. You cannot be a diva as a founder. If you want to be successful,
Yeah.
you need to get into the weeds and just do it. Really operational excellence. So yeah, and at the same time, think big, right? Your solution should conquer the world. That is the mindset that we're looking for. So, yeah, there's a lot of elements to this. Some sound contrarian, but for a successful startup founder, you need to have it all.
Amazing, amazing. So before going into your amazing organizations, Epic Angels that has more than 200 plus all female like network.
Yeah.
So can you, there are two questions. Uh, can you discuss a particularly successful investment you have made and what made it successful? And what do you think about having a very good educational background of the founders?
That's a super interesting question. Okay, to start with your first question, successful investment. My personal favorite, and that is really true, is a Bangladeshi company. It's health tech. It's called Aroga. What Aroga did is take out the middleman for medicine delivery. So there's the manufacturer and there's the patient who needs medicine. Typically, where they get it is on the street. I personally have never been in Bangladesh, so you know better than I. But what we understood
Definitely.
and have verified as well, that the people on the street where you can buy your medicine, 80% of the staff is untrained and 20% of the medicine is fake. So what this startup did, Aroga is their name, they took out this middleman layer and brought the medicine directly from the manufacturer to the patient. They have built it. It was our very, very first investment when Epic Angels was still 4 people. So we invested before they had even a website. And now 2 years later, we invested again because they have proven to have these things that I just discussed. They have built a whole network, a distribution network to distribute the medicine, which they are now going to leverage in a B2B model. So they are going to let companies use this network. And it can be anything. It can be food delivery, can be the network for pharmacies, etc. And they are going into high margin B2C activities, excuse me, which is like lab testing or telehealth, plus have their own brand medicine and put it in the pharmacies, which then can also do last mile delivery. So a lot of elements where it is a true example, great example of where the team has showed this execution excellence. They have built this network in 2 years. The tech part of the team was already in Bangladesh. The CEO and COO, they always lived in London, but they were Bangladeshi. They moved to Dhaka last year to really grow this company out as a team, and build it from there. So yeah, they are a showcase of what we look for in founders when they're building a company. To your
Yeah,
point, sorry, yeah.
especially educational background.
Yes, exactly. Education background is the second question. Yes and no. I think our current education system, and that's my personal opinion, is truly outdated, is very outdated. That was also my own founder experience to set up schools like higher education with education system that really helps people get future proof. So to not have knowledge transferred to you, but you find the knowledge because content is everywhere. Peer-to-peer learning, learning from each other, becoming problem solvers. I think those are the skills for the future. And in the current education system, the conventional system, you don't find this type education where you learn these transferable skills, regardless your topic, whether your topic is medicine or law or health. That's the same as medicine, but regardless your industry, that you have these transferable skills. So that is to that point. But if we talk about PhDs, where true IP is developed, that does matter. That is where I would make an exception if I see on a founder slide that there is a PhD in a very relevant topic. I find that relevant. If the person has a degree from Harvard or Stanford, okay, it tells me that it's a smart person, but also the inflation that is taking place in the world, there's only 5% for who such education is accessible. And the majority of the people are actually smart, do have the brains to be able to complete such an education. They just don't have the funds. So that is totally unequal. And therefore, I think it's highly inflated if you show around with your Harvard, Stanford degree. Yes, it's not, it says something, but it doesn't say everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, now tell us a little bit about your this amazing organization, the Epic Angels, which is consists of over 200 female executives, founders, and leaders. It's an amazing platform. I think organization. I must say, because female empowerment and female entrepreneurship is not that much developed in Asia Pacific region recently. But the thing is, when people work as a team, they actually do great things. So can you share a little bit about your Epic Angels? How did you found it, and
Yeah.
the impact your organization is creating in the community, in the country, according to you? If you share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. No, thank you. So Epic Angels is now 2.5 years old. We did not, excuse me, we did not design it. We did not design it to become what it is today. We started with four people. We started with 4 women. Epic Angels was started by me and my co-founder, Maaike. Maaike and I know each other from PricewaterhouseCoopers in Amsterdam. When I moved to Deutsche Bank, we lost touch, had not spoken for 15 years, and then we moved to Singapore in the same month. So I found out on LinkedIn, I saw her, I was like, what, Maaike Doya in Singapore? So I sent her a message. That same evening we had dinner, and we could still get along well. She came from San Francisco, I came from Germany. We both started angel investing in these countries, came to Singapore very excited about South Asia and Southeast Asia and what is happening here. So we wanted to check out the venture capital scene and how to invest in startups. And soon found out that it was very male dominated. The far majority of the decision makers in venture capital, whether that is VC firm partners and also angel investors, are male. Now that in itself is not really a problem, but it was just hard to get into, right? So where do you ask the questions? So we thought, you know what, we will do it our own way. So we started on Wednesday evenings, just to get together, looking at demo days on YouTube, and talking about, with the 4 of us, what do you think of this? Is this interesting to invest in? What are the risks, etc.? With these 4, we made this investment in Aroga in Bangladesh. And after that investment, founders started to come to us and said, oh, that is interesting. You're female investors. I would love to have some women on my cap table. Because for founders, and if you guys go into an entrepreneurial journey, it is important to have a very diverse support system so that you get insights that are sometimes maybe even controversial, but that helps you sharpen your own opinion. You get introductions. People is the most important thing. You need talent on your team. You need good investors. You need good advisors. If they're all from the same background and the same sort, that is suboptimal, right? It's good to have this diversity so that you get different views, different introductions, etc. So that became very clear after we made that first investment, when founders came to us and really wanted female investors in their support system. So that was for us the reason to start Epic Angels, where we say, okay, we know that there are women with the capital and the skills to become angel investors, but now there's also founders who need women. So let's bring them together. So we built the backend, the Airtable, everything to go live. And then in November 2021, we said, okay, if you suit this profile, I mean, it's not for everyone, right? Angel investing, but still we democratize it. We make it accessible for everyone. Then you can join. So end of that year, 2021, we were with 11. And indeed, now we are with over 275, all women from 25 countries. And we invest in early stage startups in APAC. So that goes indeed. So South Asia, even a bit further to Middle East, we're looking into now, all the way to Japan and Australia. And the
Wonderful.
impact that we make, to your question there, I mean, it's multiple, I would say. So first of all, we make it accessible for women to start investing in startups. This was an area which was never really deemed accessible. Although women wanted to learn about investing and wealth management, that was never really accessible. So we provide education for women to learn about angel investing. We lower the ticket size so that you can actually invest in, let's say, 5 to 10 companies with lower ticket sizes. You learn a lot because you become a little bit part of all these companies. And then you find out what you want to support yourself, where you want to put your money in, and also how to vet a startup, how to vet a founder, etc. And then let's say after 12, 18 months, you got the courage to put in bigger ticket sizes and get a bigger return. So it's a lot about the experience, the education, and just seeing a lot of startups to feel that gut, feed that gut feel, let's say. We also invest in female-led teams. So for female founders, for who it's extremely hard to raise funds, it has always been. It always stays stuck at 2 or 3% of all the capital in venture capital goes to female-led teams. There's a lot of biases involved in that, but the trend doesn't really go up. But what we see is that female founders find it kind of, more natural or feel better pitching to female investors, because the type problems that they are trying to solve sometimes are better understood by women. There's not this ego thing going on, like who asks the best questions, or I'm trying to catch you, and here you said this and there you said that. No, we have true content-driven conversations, but we're not out to topple anyone. So we really look at what you're building, and we don't care if you're a man or a woman. So indirectly, we help female founders get funded.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Great. So, in your opinion, what are some upcoming trends or sectors that present significant investment opportunities?
But yeah, every pitch that we see has AI on the cover. Last year it was Web3, Metaverse, and this year, or 2023, was all AI and generative AI. Very good. So, and I think almost like you don't need to put it on the cover, because if you are not leveraging AI and everything that has become available and is becoming available to you as a founder, then you will just miss the boat, because your competitor will do the same with AI, and that competitor will just be so much faster. So that is definitely a very exciting area, and must almost be like a hygiene factor, how you use AI and everything that's out there to make your solution better and go to market faster. What else we see coming up is of course, is sustainability, right? That is a thing, and there's always a question: impact versus financial return. Is there a trade-off? If you ask me, yes, there is a bit of a trade-off, but a good sustainable business, as in the business, is commercial, right? So makes money and is able to sustain itself. So it should not be philanthropy, but that business, a good sustainable business, can make impact, either climate or social. So this is what we focus on as well, where we see, I mean, we're 100% female investors. The stats say, and I see that also in our network, that when a woman invests, she puts her money where she wants to see societal change happen. And that is truly so in our network. So I think the stats are correct as far as I can see this under what's happening right in front of us, that women invest their money to make societal change. And that is a bit different from how men invest, where men invest primarily to grow their wallet. So when we source deals, we're quite focused on, indeed, is this tech for good?
Great. So, any specific strategies or tactics you use to identify promising investment opportunities?
Um, no, it's quite simple, really. We index very highly on the team. We invest in early stage, so pre-seed to Series A. You can say that in Series A, product market fit is found. So we invest in a stage company where there's no product market fit yet. So if you go on the solution, and the solution may be the best thing after sliced bread, but as long as there's no product market fit, we don't know. So it's quite likely, actually, that the product or the service has to change to find that fit with the market. Now, the only way that can happen successfully is through good founders. Only good founders can make that change and find that product market fit. So we look at the founder. That's the most important criteria for us. Do they have it in them to really find that product market fit? And again, that comes back to the things that I said earlier. It requires a lot of resilience and grit. Yet you need to know when to stop. Able to learn, make data-based decisions, right? Dare to be proven wrong. It's okay. It's good. And execution excellence. Just keep going, keep testing, keep going, keep listening, and make those tweaks to find it. And then once it reaches Series A, then you can build. So for example, Aroga, what we invested in first, they have found their product market fit now, and now they can really scale and leverage the platform that they built, the infrastructure in Bangladesh, and also go into high margin B2C activities. And that's when it gets interesting also for investors.
Wonderful. So you mentioned sustainability, and School of Entrepreneurship Development is a non-profit organization. So everything that we do is for free for entrepreneurs, for students, to create an impact in the community and in the country, to develop the entrepreneurial mindset among students. So we have recently started Asian Startup Chamber. So what it is going to do, that as you mentioned, sustainability. So we are going to work aggressively in Asia to develop startup ecosystem. So only the startups that has sustainability in their idea or in their business, they can be part of it. It's completely free. So what they can do, there will be startups and university students as a member of this chamber. So they are going to interact with startups around the like around Asia, in different countries. So those startups will be able to explore expansion, their business expansion in other Asian countries from that startup, and they will get the feasibility support and all the stuffs. So as our very simple objective is to connect with right information, right resource and right resource and information, because like if these two things are very rare in this world, and for the students and for the entrepreneurs, this is very important two things. So we are working on that. Can you share any and yeah, just sharing because of that you mentioned sustainability. Can you share any insights or lessons learned from investments that did not go as expected?
Ha! Yes, and I think that is all the startups that came into trouble in the last year and a half, and that all has to do with being too heavy, right? So not being asset light, so very high burn rate, so very high monthly expenses, also very costly to acquire customers, for example. So the CAC, the CAC, right, too high. You see that a lot, where a lot of marketing is spent to onboard customers. That's in the B2B, in the B2C space. So again, it comes down to building sustainable business, really being light, being very conscious about your cost. Don't burn money. It's the businesses who have not thought that through, how to set up a sustainable business, and now have to go out and fundraise again, because in 2022, let's say they had their last round. That means that in 12, 18 months, you need to go out to the market and raise funds again. If you have not been able to change your structure to a lighter structure, it's the capital is not going to come, and those companies have fallen over. In our portfolio, none of the companies have fallen over yet. I mean, they're still all existing, so that is good. But that has been a trend that I really saw. The ones that have not built sustainable, and not sustainability. I'm not talking about sustainability in terms of climate or social. I talk about the business itself. So strong unit economics, smart go-to-market strategy. Those hold up. Yeah.
Great. So you're also a venture partner at Kaizen West. It's an the asset manager focused on future of learning and work, and
Yeah.
venture fellow at Insignia Ventures Partners. And you're also a mentor and advisor for renowned global accelerators and universities. So, how do you manage your time to do this kind of things?
It's a
Because
good
like
question.
people say, like who are into investment, they just invest money and enjoy their life. But
No,
how,
yeah,
how
not
do you
really.
see it? I mean, and like that means you value giving something back to the community.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, it is.
how did it come to you? And just share about yourself, that your mentorship and the venture fellow stuff, like those stuffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's all so Epic Angels. You heard the story how it started. That now takes the majority of my time. Yes, yet it's not the main. Still have to make sure that my work visa I keep it. So do work besides it's where I can actually be a bridge between my previous life, where is the corporate and the banking world, which I can relate to because I've been in corporate life for 15 years. And then in 2018, I made this switch to being a founder, where I set up the schools, and an entrepreneur, where we now run the Angel Network. So being that bridge is what I'm often asked for, and what I also really like, because I can relate to both worlds. Um, Kaizenfest really came because of my passion for what technology can do for learning, where I said that I think the education system is due an update. It's 150 years old. There is all this technology, different and digital infrastructure to update learning, right? To make learning more relevant, to make it accessible to people who do not have access to quality education, to make it higher quality, right? So and personalized. So, for example, you and I are in the same class, where your level will be different from my level. So your next step is this, and my next step is that. Technology can do all of that, and that will make learning outcomes better. So this is what I set up in Germany in 2019 and 20. Very modern education system, and I'm quite passionate, maybe as you can hear, about this space, because I think there's so much potential, and it will actually have a real impact in the world if we can lift education and learning outcomes with technology. And this is where I got connected with Kaizenvest, who is Asia's first investor in education projects. So they invest in making education more accessible, more relevant, and higher quality through technology. So this was a match that was very easily made when I moved here to Singapore in 2020. We found each other quite quickly, and I'm involved as a venture partner. So I helped them, connect with interesting projects, and also spread the word about that. So that is Kaizenfest, and there's Insignia, which is Insignia Academy, is an academy where I was cohort one, so I was kind of the guinea pig, but I truly enjoyed it in 2020, where I continued to work with founders. But I had a knowledge gap in fundraising. So when you talk with founders, in the second sentence, fundraising comes up. And I realized that I love working with founders. My management consulting background really helped with advising them on strategy, business models, hiring teams, etc. But on fundraising, I had a knowledge gap. So I thought I need to fix this if I want to continue working with founders. So I went to the Insignia Academy, a 3-month boot camp about venture capital, where you learn the theory, but also the practice in a small cohort, and that was brilliant. It really helped me not only with the knowledge, but also finding the people and building a network here in Southeast Asia in the first year that I was here. So because of that, I'm a fellow there, and it's the network that is still very much thriving and very important also. And that is something that I learned that I would recommend to everyone listening, is build a network. It's all about the people that you know. You never know. Make friends before you need them, right? Don't be transactional about this. Build a network. Be interested also, right? You need to be interested to be interesting. So learn what people do, see how that can work out, etc. So build a network. It's networking is sometimes seen as a dirty word, but it has really helped me do what I love. And I would recommend everybody to go out there. Don't make it transactional. Just be interested, be curious, learn, and it will help you find your way.
Definitely. So we're almost at the end of our session, but before that, three questions. One is, like our main audience, they are studying at universities. So if you share some advice for them, what are the skills and knowledge they should develop before
Mm-hmm.
graduation? And what advice would you give to entrepreneurs seeking investment for their startups? And the last one is, how do you see Bangladesh as a potential market for investment?
Mm-hmm. To start with the first, what is important to learn, right?
And what
Learn to
skills,
learn.
knowledge and skills.
Yeah, I think knowledge, don't don't learn knowledge. Knowledge is everywhere. You need the basic knowledge on things, right? But for the rest, knowledge and content develops so quickly, you need to learn. That is the key skill. Because what I studied in my university time, I do not use anymore. Naturally, right? What helps me be successful is what I learned throughout the years and in the jobs, and learning from what is happening in the world. So keeping your feelers out there. So you absolutely need to learn how to learn. Never ever sit back and relax like, I landed a good job, so this is going to be it for the next 40 years. No, it doesn't work like this. So you need to always stay up to date. And sometimes that's hard, but you need to find your ways how to do this. So learn to learn is the key skill, I would say. Then problem solving is number two. The world has real problems, and that those need to be solved. They won't be solved if we do what we did in the past 10 years. So problem solving is a key skill. You don't need to solve the world's problem immediately, but just start small. Look around you, see what the actual problem is. That's the hardest part. Usually coming up with the solution is the easier part. When you have 1 hour, spend 55 minutes on studying the problem and what the actual problem is, and then the solution will come out in the last 5 minutes. So learning to learn and problem solving, I would say, are the key skills to learn. Knowledge, as in content and existing knowledge, maybe the basics for your industry, but it keeps changing. So make sure you stay up to date. Be able to reinvent yourself when it's needed, right? Um, that is, I think, something that you need to be confident about, that you can reinvent yourself if it's needed. Companies who seek investment and the Bangladesh investment landscape. I think Bangladesh is hugely interesting. There was also a report by BCG lately on that, where, increased stability. There's huge potential with the middle classes coming up. So I think this is hugely interesting also together with India, right, where we see also 500 million households coming up to a middle class. So I think there's huge potential. And internet penetration, I think, is still under 60%, if I'm not wrong, for tech founders. That is something important. So I hope that will increase. But I think the increased stability and the lift that you see in the society is very exciting. If you're building a startup in Bangladesh and you seek investment, really, as I said before, make sure you are a good founder in the sense that you have all these traits, that you're not a diva, but are willing to really go through it, roll up your sleeves, learn, be ready to be proven wrong, and listen to the market, make changes as needed, and make sure you solve a real problem. That sounds weird, but it's true. There are so many pitch decks that I see that actually do not solve a problem, but those are solutions that are like, oh, that would be a cool idea, but it doesn't solve an actual problem. So make sure there's an actual problem that you solve, and find that connection with the market, that these people are actually really delighted with what you bring to them, and that they're willing to pay for it, and then go for profitability as soon as possible, because that will make you sustainable. Don't be dependent on outside capital. I shouldn't say that as an investor, but it's really the only way to survive, be sustainable, and be profitable, and don't be dependent on anyone for your growth.
Great. Thank you so much for your like valuable time and insights. Like sometimes it's hard to reach out to people like you because like you have so many activities, and you're busy in life. But like the time that you have given to us, it's very valuable because we are trying to like connect people, try to connect their stories. I mean, students, to create an awareness, and it's like a learning session for them. So thank you, Ms. Hester, for your session and valuable insights and advice that you have given to us. So on behalf of School of Entrepreneurship Development, we wish you very best of luck, and we would like to welcome you in Bangladesh, and be healthy and stay in touch.
Thank you very much. It was a real pleasure. And if there's any follow-up questions, don't hesitate to reach out over LinkedIn, and I will reply. Thank you for
Great.
having me.
Great. Thank you so much and have a good day.
In your studies.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Have a good
Thank
day.
you. Bye.
Bye.